Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Canty, and this is another episode of Living Enlightened Every Day. And living enlightened simply means integrating spirit, mind, and body. It's inviting the whole of us to show up right here, right now, in this moment. And today I have with me a very special guest, Dr. Dain Heer. And he loves the same thing. He helps people to create the change they want to see, to be their authentic self. He asks, what if being you is about embracing being different? What does it even mean to be you? And what if being authentically you could change everything? What if being authentically you could change the world? Let's explore. I'm Elizabeth Canty, and I am here with Dr. Dain Heer. And together we invite you to just take a breath, check in with yourself, tune in, and listen from your whole being. Listen with the intention that you will recognize, realize, remember something incredible about being you in this podcast. And here's a little bit about Dr. Dain Heer. He is a catalyst for empowering people to know that they can change anything, even the government. He is an internationally renowned best-selling author, speaker, and facilitator of consciousness, healing, and change, and is the co-creator of Access Consciousness, developed together with founder Gary Douglas. Dr. Dain has developed a unique energy process for change called the energetic synthesis of being. And his book, Being You, Changing the World, has sparked a world of change. And I have read the book. I give it a 5-star review. It is unique, like Dr. Dain himself. It is powerful and timeless. And what's really exciting is in the next few days, June 22nd, Dr. Dain has an annual international event coming up called, what else? Being You. It's the Being You Day. And it is inspired by this overwhelming positive response to his book with that title as well. The book, the courses, the classes, the workshops, everything. Welcome, Dr. Dain Heer. I'm excited to be with you today.
I see what you did there. Hi, Elizabeth. It is truly a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Well, let's jump in and just tell us how you came across the world of access consciousness.
Oh goodness. I was doing every spiritual, metaphysical, and psychological modality I could find 24, 25 years ago. And for many years before that. And because I knew there was something different, I knew there had to be an answer out there for me somewhere. And in seeking those answers, all I came up with was more reasons to judge myself. I'd feel good for a day or two, and then it would feel like it all went away. And I didn't feel like I had the tools to change it at the time. And I got to a place where I had woken up unhappy for the better part of 3 years, judging myself day in and day out. And one day I woke up after one of those weekend workshops, where you feel like you have the answers to your life and everything's going to work now. And on Wednesday, usually after the weekend, is when the universe would cave back in on my head. And this happened. And I remember waking up and I was like, I'm done. Universe, I'm doing everything I can to try to bring possibilities. And it doesn't seem to be working. And I am unhappier day by day. This either truly changes or I'm out of here. And I literally set a date to end my life. And I'm creative, so I knew it would be, it would work if I chose. And a week later, an ad for Access Consciousness showed up in this little local independent paper in Santa Barbara where I was living. And I threw it away because it said, all of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. And I was like, my life is pain, suffering, and glory. You don't get me. I hate you. And which is just a bit of an inappropriate response to 2 lines of tiny text in a classified ad section. And I was leafing through the paper the following week, and the only thing my eyes focused on was this tiny ad, all of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. And I remembered a long time ago, I learned that if you love it or hate it, there's something there for you. There's something that will contribute to your journey. And I was like, oh, I hate it. Okay, I'm going to call this person. And, I'm kind of wired that way. I'm like, okay, if it's bringing up that much charge, there's something I have to look at here. And so I called and I said, what do you do? And it was like talking to a happy marshmallow on the other end. She's like, oh, we do all kinds of things. I'm like, what are you going to do for me? You know, here I was in this, like, truly, I had just set a date to end my life 2 weeks before
Yeah.
that and was actually looking forward to the piece of not having to struggle anymore. And she said, well, let's start with this thing called the bars. And I'll put my hands on your head and I'll move it to different places. And I said, okay, what's going to happen from that? What's the effect? She said, well, at the worst, you'll feel like you had a good massage. So you get some relaxation. At the best, your whole life can change. Whew. And how true that was.
Yeah.
And it makes me cry almost every time I think about it because I remember where I was in that place and how little hope I had. So she comes over to my chiropractic office. She puts her hands on my head, and I'm like, okay, whatever, you know. And within a few seconds, I feel this energy moving through my body, and I was like, oh, this is wonderful. And within a few minutes, I was giggling like a little kid. I was like, and she would move her hands to another place, and I would giggle more. An hour and 15 minutes later, I got up and I had gone into that session angry, depressed, and suicidal. And I came out of it with a knowing I would never have to go there again, with an exuberance for being alive. I remember looking up at the clouds outside my window and I was like, wow, has it always been this beautiful here? And I just didn't notice. And this was the beginning of this journey. And shortly thereafter, I met the founder of Access. He happened to live in Santa Barbara. He happened to be the stepfather of the girl that had done this session on me, which the universe knows what it's doing, apparently. And we started working together. There was this energetic synthesis of being process that you mentioned came out with my first session working on him. And I realized there are miraculous ways of changing things. And most of us have never been taught, never been shown. And so the last 24 years have been about how do I let people know that there is wonder and beauty in the world and greatness within them, and they are fully capable of being it and choosing it. And that's what the journey has been. And so in Access, we have over 8,000 tools, if not more at this point, to help you change things in the trenches of life. But the thing that I love about it is it doesn't just make you feel good when you're in class. It does that. But what it does is it seems to have this effect of expanding the space in which you function. So, and, the people listening to this probably get that really well. But for anybody who's new, what I'm talking about is a lot of us walk around like we're in this little concrete bubble and it feels like we have no space. It's like, we can't even breathe sometimes. We get stressed out and it's all in here. And what this does, it starts expanding that and giving you a sense that, once again, even in the trenches where you're having things come up that you don't want to be that way. You don't want to be getting angry at your kids. You don't want to feel resentful of your job and your boss. And you don't want to feel afraid of the world and hateful of people in the world, but you do. Well, okay, when you notice that, how do we change it? And what happens is over time, as you change these things that are seemingly little, what occurs is you stop reacting to the things that are bigger and bigger and bigger. And you start having a sense of, wow, I'm here and it's okay. And not only am I here, but you start to get the awareness that if something isn't working, I can change it. And then that leads to, if I'd like something greater than what I'm having right now, even if it's great what I have, if I'd like something greater, well, then I can do that too. And that's a space of empowerment that becomes a beautiful recipe for being alive. And it really all goes back to the choices we have when we're truly being us and not run by all kinds of programming and resistance and reaction to things.
Yeah, it's the past programming, the conditioning. You described it beautifully when you said we contract. I feel like we contract around that and we're squeezing our giant, beautiful, incredible, timeless, eternal, spaceless selves into this little tiny space that is has this past and this history and this happened to me and that didn't happen to me and I could never do that and I can't do that and I don't know how to do that. And you and your processes help us to expand out of that into, as you said, into a greater awareness and expansion of our being. So I got to ask, access consciousness. How do you define consciousness and how do we access it?
Uh, Great questions. First of all, I'd love to say we're marketing geniuses, but it's just so there, you know? So it is about accessing the consciousness that we all are. And most people think if their eyes are open, they're conscious. But consciousness is actually a level of awareness with everything without judgment. And so we have a definition of consciousness, which is where everything exists and nothing is judged. And I like to say where everything and everyone and all parts of you exist and none of it is judged. And what the world doesn't realize is that any time you create a judgment of something, that's all you will allow into your awareness. So if you decide this is difficult, well, guess what? It shows up as difficult. Yet the person next to you doesn't have that decision or that judgment that it's difficult. So it's not for them. What's the difference? Their point of view. Your point of view creates your reality. Reality does not create your point of view. And what Access is really good at and is, well, its entire job is accessing the consciousness that's available to all of us. And it's based on this awareness that consciousness is what already exists in the space beyond judgment or the absence of judgment. It's like if you get the sense of what it's like when you go out in nature, because the trees don't judge, the animals don't judge, they're not thinking, they're simply being. And I mean, I'm thinking there's probably no one that doesn't like being out in nature, you know? And if you do that, that's a whole thing. We can talk about that at another time, you know, but
That's a
it's
whole
like,
nother podcast.
yeah, that's a whole other podcast. But it's like that is actually more like the space of us when we're not judging, which is why it feels so nurturing, which is one of the reasons it feels so nurturing. There's all kinds of other beautiful stuff out there too. But if we could recognize that when we talk about the conditioning, it's like, you know, if you look at a baby who comes in, they just pretty much are like, hello world, you know, and they tend to smile a lot and laugh. And it's like, you know, they basically have three needs. It's like, feed me, change my diaper, and take me around so I can see the world, you know? Not really complex stuff. But around 8 years old, we start learning that judgment is a reality and there's a separation between us and others. And we start trying to fit ourselves into a reality that isn't really true for us as beings, but everybody's been doing it for so long that even though we may know there's something possible, we don't know how to get there. And so this is about how do we get there? And one of the huge elements of this is, and one of the biggest starting places is to begin to ask questions rather than coming to judgments and conclusions. Because once again, for any judgment, a judgment and a conclusion and a decision are basically in the same family. They're in the solidify your life, put bricks around you to make this real family. Okay, what a happy family. Um, you know, and asking a question always opens up another door of possibility. So something, and it, if you're, if you've lived a life kind of like the one I was living, that I think a lot of us in whatever way we have tried to come to the right conclusion about everything and structure everything correctly so that it will lead to the happiness we desire and we know should be possible. The simple act of asking a question might seem too simple. It might seem like not enough. And so you got to do it for a bit sometimes, or do it and see how you'll get a miraculous change one time and go, oh, it does actually work, you know? Which, and questions like, what else is possible here I've never considered? What's right about this I'm not getting? What's right about me I'm not getting? How does it get any better than this whenever something good happens or whenever something bad happens? Um, and questions in that realm, which are open-ended, which take you from like even, and it works even if you're looking at something and let's say you've got this stress about money in this project and, you know, something that you thought was going to happen that's going to make it work because now it looks like it might not happen. And you go, okay, what else is possible here that I've never considered? And you just be with it for a moment And don't expect it to miraculously change things right there. But what it will do is it will take you from the contraction where we're judging and defining that this is wrong and bad and only looking from this place, because that's what judgment and decision and conclusion do. And we go, what else is possible? And it may open it up, maybe a little, maybe a lot. What else is possible I've never considered? And then also, what's right about this I'm not getting? Because the interesting thing is, in what this work is about consciousness, even Einstein said every molecule in the universe has consciousness.
Mm.
And so they all know about all the other ones and everything that's going on. And we keep thinking we can figure it out here, but we don't have enough computing power to do that. But if we open up to the awareness that it's already happening and it's already all connected, let's let that contribute, creates a totally different space in which we can function that becomes a lot more fun. And if we can ask something like, what's right about this I'm not getting, rather than assuming it's wrong, what starts to happen is, rather than concluding this is wrong, and because we conclude it, that's all we can see. Now it becomes, what else is possible? What's right about this I'm not getting? How does it get any better than this? And we start, if we follow this at all, and if we look back over our lives, how many times has the door that closed in front of you that you thought was terrible led to a much bigger door and a much bigger universe of something that was possible that you would have never gotten to if this door that you decided was the answer didn't close on your face, you know?
Well, that was one of the main things for me about the book, is the questioning. And I love that. In my book, I talk about staying out of the jar: judgments, attachments, reactions, and resistance. Because if we actually can, as you suggest, or really talk about in depth in your book, let them go. And there's that empty space, and out of the question, and you have these beautiful, creative, open-ended questions inviting infinite possibility to just show up and appear from that space of openness and expansiveness. And those questions are, you said it, they seem so simple. And it makes me wonder if somebody is going to, read that book, maybe even take that class, and their mind is, because our minds love to complicate things. We love things to be hard and we want to figure it out. That even the saying, work hard and get the rewards, or something. If you work hard, then you get rewarded, or all these Puritan work ethic things that I grew up with. Okay, I'm showing me now, but it's that idea of like, no, I don't know. Now I feel like life is meant to be, we're meant to be in this flow. And as we contract around what we think should be, we're missing what is, like, what is
That.
the beauty all around us. And when you ask, well, what is good? What is possible? How, and I love, how does it get any better than this when something good happens? And how does it get any better than this when something that we want to judge as bad or negative happens? How does it get better than this? And it's inviting that which knows, that is us, to jump in and show us.
Yes,
To
that.
say, try this, open this door, call this person, turn around.
Exactly. That's usually the one. Turn around, you know? And I love that you bring that up, because, and what you were talking about at the very beginning about this space that we are, what we talk about in Access is we are infinite beings. And your mind can't fathom infinite because it's so big, but it means you encompass everything. Essentially, you are the universe. And here's the thing I also have to add to that, though, because I did many things that were like, you are the universe. And I was like, okay, if I am the universe, why do I have such money problems? You know, it's like, thanks, but you know what I mean?
Not
What this is
helping. You're
about,
not helping with that,
yeah,
right?
exactly. Give me something I can use, you know?
I
I'm the
get
universe who can't pay rent. Excuse me? What? That did not help, you know?
it. Right.
I have a funny story. I probably will not tell this funny story right now, but I went to a lady and I asked her about, we were in a spiritual circle thing, and we could ask any question. And I asked her, how would I handle my money problem? And she suggested that I take the purple light of Saint Germain and swirl it up and down. And I was like, so I tried it. I tried it for weeks. Nothing changed. I was like, because here's the thing about what consciousness gives you that is different, is more presence and more awareness that you are the gratefully receiving source while simultaneously being a contribution. Mm. And so it's this presence that you get to have. And one of the things that occurred with a lot of the spiritual techniques, quote unquote, that I did was, it was like, put the power outside of you, put the source outside of you, and ask for help from this thing. And for me, I never got help. Well, sometimes I got help from things, but it was like, it was an awareness that if I'm willing to be the source also, then I can receive the contribution from everything that's willing to contribute. If I'm not, and I'm always putting the source outside of me, then I'm always saying, hey, thing, will you fix this for me, please? Will you fix this for me? Will you fix this for me? But that's not the way the universe works. It's like the earth doesn't say, hey, sun, can you do my job for me? You know, the earth is like, sun, thank you for all the contribution. I am a source for all these beautiful things and beautiful creatures, and I will gladly do that, you know? And so there's a difference in perspective where you start to recognize that you can be that source, but it's not exclusionary. It's actually the one place and space that's inclusionary of everything that will contribute, can contribute, desires to contribute. And it's also the one space that has no point of view about the distractors and the haters and the judgers. It changes the entire perspective when you embrace this idea of everything existing and nothing being judged, and then actually have the tools to actualize that.
Thank you. I really felt when you were talking about that, and there was something that I remember from your book. You asked the question, is it possible that there is something, or maybe a lot of things that myself, that I'm still refusing to receive, and would I be willing to stop refusing and start
Yeah.
receiving from the universe, from those around you? And I would say the way you were talking about it is, we are source and supply, and we are the receiver. But to be both and is a really interesting place to be. Can you talk about how we bring ourselves into that state of receivership?
Yeah. Well, let's acknowledge that there is a difference, and a difference between what I would call this reality and what is actually true. In other words, what we've learned is reality gets created wherever two or more people align and agree on a point of view. Hmm. So if you say this is hard and somebody goes, you're right, it is hard. Well, guess what? Now it's hard. We've just created a reality in which we both are holding that in place. That's not necessarily what's true, though. And so we live in a world of people who, and especially, with social media and that sort of thing, where people are trying to get people to align and agree that they have value, and align and agree about this, and align and agree. And you see it, and it has created a lot of polarity where people on this side are right and people on this side are right. But if we're all people on this planet, and there are people on this side who think they're right and people on this side who think they're right, that 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 there's something that we're missing here. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so we do that in our own lives, though, also. And so what we've realized is there's a lot of things. In fact, the things that seem the most real to us tend to be the things that are most intense, most twisted, most heavy, and we focus most of our energy on those. As though if we do that, then we can untwist it and finally become light and happy like we would like to be, like we get when we're out in nature. That's the antithesis of what we could choose. And also, by the way, if you're out there and you've been watching and you're spacing out right now and you're having trouble following our words, that's a nature of this conversation and the energetics of it. So just know that, please. And don't bother trying to listen cognitively. Just let your being go along for the ride, and maybe you'll feel lighter after we're done. Okay? Just a thought. And by the way, this is the other element I wanted to bring in is what's true for us always makes us lighter. A lie always makes us heavier. And so if you look at what people have gravitated toward, especially in the last few years with, the pandemic and all the everything, all the stuff we could all talk about, and even bringing it up, give some people PTSD because it was such a time where people were supposed to structure and polarize. Okay, well, what if we didn't have to?
Mhm.
What if we didn't have to? Number one, but if we recognize what's true makes us lighter, a lie makes us heavier. And the more over time that we choose what's true for us, rather than focusing on what's not, over time, what starts to happen is you start to have more and more and more lightness in your life. And then more and more awareness of when something shows up, whether it's true or not. So whether you want to actually choose to include that in your daily living or not. And so it becomes a different space of living where no matter what happens, you start to have more ease, but also you start creating less and less and less drama, fewer and fewer and fewer problems to solve, as though solving the problem is going to get you to somewhere greater. Because remember, your point of view creates your reality. So if your point of view is, I need to solve this problem to have something greater, then you're going to create more problems to solve. And the difficulty is that only works for a short amount of time. The other difficulty being that a lot of us have created ourselves as dynamic problem solvers, and we think that's our value in our families, in our businesses. And we think if we didn't create problems, if we didn't see the problem before anybody else and in our own unique way, and if we didn't present the solution, then we have no value.
Right.
But what I've found, and I've created a worldwide business based on the idea that let's look for the possibilities and head in that direction. And if we do that, what happens is, and once again, of course, the how, and I always desire to give people the how as much as possible. In this case, the beginning has to start with the concept, though. So rather than look at, if we instead look at what possibilities would we like to create, what happens is as you go along that journey, you go, hey, let's choose this. Okay, we start creating, I don't know if it's a product, let's say, or a change in the business. We'll start creating graphics, we'll start getting the stuff together. And then there may come a point at which it's like, this just got stuck. Well, now, see what happens is if you're heading in, sorry, my ADHD is off the charts right now. I apologize. It's probably my dragon cup and my yerba mate that I've been drinking. So I'm going to have some more. I'm sure that'll help. Yeah, there you go. So, so if we look at this for a moment, so I'm going to try to shortcut this. I apologize. I literally have such dynamic ADHD that it's a miracle I can ever say one sentence. Because there's at least 1,000 things in here that want to be said all the time, I know you know.
I do.
So, yeah. You're like, oh, my people. Hey, so if you're one of those people out there who's like, oh my God, I'm like that too. Yeah, so are we. You're not wrong. What is the gift of that? What's right about that? That if you embrace that, will make your life way more beautiful. Instead of judging it when it comes up, explore it, play with it. This is
Well,
about where we get to
explore, play
play.
with it, just like you're doing now. I mean, you are a perfect example of the creative energy in flow, and it's okay that it doesn't go in this perfect line linearly,
Yes.
whatever that thing is, because it's so enjoyable to watch you be right where you are doing whatever it is that you're doing, because we're just here for it's fun. It's fun watching you be you. And that goes back to being your authentic self. So I'm laughing as you apologize, which of course you don't have to drink your yerba mate out of your dragon cup. and we are here for the ride, baby. Just tell us some more.
That's what I'm talking about. And thank you for that. And I want to point out that a lot of us have been so judged in the past because we didn't do linear. And yet, if you see anybody who's created anything miraculous in the world, they don't do linear.
I
You,
agree. It's not linear. It's like over here and then over here and then wait over there behind you and turn around and gathering it
yeah,
together and then watching as all the people kind of join in and swoop in and do their thing. And it's really, there's some linear stuff out there that's beautiful. I appreciate it all. And there's this other thing that we're like, and you do this in your book so well. It's just acknowledging being our authentic expression is the key to creating what you want to create. And that's what you were talking about, is being able to really create and the, like you were starting to talk about a business and how to gather that around you, that energy, or that when you get, and then you talked about getting stuck. So
yeah. Thank you. And thank you for the reminder, because you also know how my ADHD goes. So here's two ways of creating. Many people have gotten into, okay, we want to create this. What are the problems that we're going to need to encounter? Let's solve all of those and then it'll work, which starts you off from a lens of let's look for the problems. When you look for the problems, you're going to find problems. Okay, what I've found is different but works really beautifully is look for the possibilities, start instituting those to the best of your ability. And then if there are fixed points of view or structures that we have created, let's say in the past, in our family, in our business, hey, we'd like to change something as a family, or we'd like to change something as a business. We'd like to create something as a family, we'd like to create something as a business. Well, let's get the sense of what it is we would like and what it is that's showing us is possible. And as we head in that direction, it's going to work, and maybe it'll hit a roadblock. But what that roadblock is telling us our fixed points of view that are in the way from allowing that thing to actualize. So now we can use some of the access tools. We can go to question again. What is this? What do I do with it? And how do we change this? Can we change it? And also, how do we change it? And just opening that space, and also, hey, what's right about this we're
that's
not
my
getting?
favorite. Yeah.
Love that one too. And what else is possible here? And how does it get any better than this? And all you do is you just be with what you just noticed came up as the apparent roadblock. And you just be with it for a moment and ask those questions and then see what shows up. And then we have some other tools like the clearing statement that normally I in the past, I would not even bring it up, if we only had this amount of time to talk. But at this point, I'm like, here, let me present it to people and then they can go search it out. Because it's one of the biggest upgrades in changing your life that I have seen. And literally like one of the biggest upgrades in personal development, that since personal development has existed, and you can add it to anything. And it is POC and POD, which stands for going back to the point of creation of the thoughts, feelings, and emotions that you locked in place right before you made the decision to lock a fixed point of view in place. And so it's about us getting out of our fixed points of view, because the other thing we often don't realize is it's our point of view that is getting in the way. It could be other people's points of view also, but if we don't align and agree with it or resist and react to it, we're not really in a place where we get stuck by it or trapped by it. And so for anything that comes up, we can use this POC and POD. And I use it, and it's based on quantum physics, or quantum physics supports the concept. Let's put it this way. It's like the room you're in looks solid, and the walls look solid, but science tells us it's 99.9999999% space. And if you could access the space of it, you could probably walk right through the wall. Except we've decided we can't. We've decided what it is. We've structured it in a certain way. And this is the wall. This is me. And this is how it happens. Well, to a certain degree, that's exactly what we do with anything that's stuck in our life. This is the wall. This is me. This is our relationship. And this is what's happening. Well, if you can go POC and POD that, or the whole clearing statement is right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine, shorts, boys, poveds, and beyonds, which you're like, well, that was a lot of stuff. You can go to theclearingstatement.com. We'll explain it. And you can, if you're wired like me and you want to know everything about everything, go there. It's free. It's our gift to you, but you can add it to anything. And what happens is now you start to have a tool that for anything, yuck, stuck, or it rhymes with stuck. It starts with F, rhymes with stuck, any yuck, stuck, or what that comes up, you now have a tool for at least starting to melt it and dissolve it. And what that means is you don't have to live in this solid world of walls and structures and where you feel like you have to resist this in order not to be the effect of it. You start to have more space and more of a sense of, wow, I actually like being here on this planet. I actually like being in my life. I like being with my family. I like being in my business. I like being in my relationship. I like being on the planet. And that occurs from us having a sense of the space that we actually are.
There's so many things. One, you were just saying, I like being me. I like my life. I like, being a dad, a mom, a sister. I like that this is happening. And you talked earlier about the little things and the little things each day. And people know that I talk about when the little things, every little things, the lizard darting across the patio, you just notice like it's a little dinosaur darting across the patio. There's just so many incredible things happening, the butterfly or the hummingbird or the sounds or the fact that we have air conditioning in Florida. Yay. There's so many beautiful things that are happening, but we forget sometimes to just allow them in so that every moment can be, oh, this is nice, this is nice, this is nice, this is good, this feels good. And when we're doing that, then the bill comes that you weren't expecting, and it's like, oh, wow, I'm glad I felt good all morning. So I can just kind of move into, feeling good about this. What's good about this? So I might have the money to pay for this, or if I don't, have a credit card to put it on. That's good about this. And we can continue feeling, that love for life. Because that's my thing, is helping people to love their life and live their passion, because we are meant to. That's what we're meant to do. We're not meant to struggle. I really believe that with all my heart. And I know you do. I know at Access Consciousness, you guys know we're meant to love life, and it's loving us back every minute. It's loving us back. And for us to receive that, we might have to clear some things. So you brought up that beautiful clear
Yeah.
statement. We might have to clear out some things, judging that we don't deserve it, that we didn't do anything that was worthy of it, that we're not that valuable in this relationship or in this business or in this life, and clearing all that
Mm-hmm.
out, the little things and the big things. We begin to feel like we not only deserve it, and then we move into that space, the creative space of creating it. And you talk a lot about being creators, the creators that we are.
Yeah.
Can you move and you talk a few times in your book, let's just say you talk about asking and demanding as a part of creating from choice. And
Yes.
that to me, I have this visual from your book. And it's these two angels. You describe these two cherubic angels flying over your head with a pot of gold, and they're ready to dump it on you, and they're getting a little upset because we're not asking for it. And so that idea of asking and demanding from the universe. And I
Yeah.
think that's very powerful, is to stand in what is the truth for us. So we're not asking because everybody else has it. We're not asking because we think it's going to make the neighbors think that we look good, or I want to be in a Ferrari so everyone thinks I am like this. It's like, what is my heart's desire? And asking and demanding. I have a hard time with that word demanding. So I'll just use asking with that knowing that as we ask, it is given. As we
That.
ask, the universe doesn't judge. No, you can't have that. No, you're not good enough. No, you didn't make an A on your last exam. No, you failed at your last marriage. It's like the universe, yeah, you get that, sure.
Wow.
But how do we receive?
So, well, let's talk about this for a moment. And if you're okay with it, I'd like to use a little of this, like a mini session for people, if that's okay. Would that be all right? Because one of the reasons I do what I do and have so many videos online and so many things is because I didn't have access to this. When I was starting, when I was at that place where I wanted to end it all, there I luckily I came across it, but that was thank you, universe. It's like because I want people to know it's possible. And so let me speak to your question about how we change things. So the first is to get the inner. This is, I think, for your listeners, probably right up their alley. So this is cool. For somebody who's not, this is can still be really helpful. And what you want to do is get a sense of what you would like. And when I say get a sense, what I mean is like let's say you would like a more harmonious relationship. Or maybe you'd like a relationship, period. Maybe you don't have one. And you've been searching and searching and searching, and you keep getting kicked in the teeth. You're like, okay. In that particular one, get a sense of waking up. So actually, sorry, the ADHD. And then I'm wondering which track to go down for people. Okay, so let me talk about a couple of the elements, like you mentioned, ask and demand. Okay, so the ask, and I'll walk you through the ask in a moment. And then this, as the universe would have it, might work out really well for a lot of things for people, I hope. This is me trying to predict the future. Okay, so ask and demand. So what you want to do is you ask of the universe and all of consciousness and anything that exists that will contribute to you. You don't even have to know it, okay? And that right there is a bit like, whoa, you might get a little excited and then a little terrified. But one of the things we found is most people, when they get excited, they then think it's fear, like they've misidentified and misapplied excitement as fear. So don't buy that it's terrified. Just have the excitement and enthusiasm of it. And what you want to do is whatever you're asking for, you want to get the sense of the way it would be to have that in your life. Get the sense of having somebody in your life that truly had your back, absolutely adored you, and that they even push your buttons because they adore you more than you do. They have less judgment of you than you do. And no matter what you do, you can't make them judge you. And you're like, wow, that's weird. That's a lot of stuff. Yeah. And get the sense of having somebody that's fun to play with, somebody who lets you do whatever you want and is happy for you, and you let them do whatever they want. And you're happy for them. Get the sense of somebody who your bodies love each other and adore each other and love to explore and play. Explore and plore. There you go. Explore and play. Okay. And that's just one thing. Okay. This relationship idea that we're looking at, right? And do you notice you start smiling when you're just indulging. This is how we created when we were kids.
Yeah.
I mean, look at a little kid, like, oh yeah, you have the teacup and mommy, there's dragons everywhere. I know you can't see them, but we're having teacup with a queen and a princess, and I'm the thing over here. You know what I mean? Like that. And that's so much fun for us. And then we try to structure it, and we don't know how, because we don't know how to take that beautiful thing and somehow squeeze it into something that matches a person and a thing. That's not our job. I know that's weird. I know we want to think, and everybody listening to this is way more of a control freak than they want to acknowledge. Okay, let me just acknowledge that, and that's not wrong. Remember, in a world of judgment, rather than you going, well, I'm a control freak, I'm bad and wrong, you can go, wow, I do so much control. How much power must I have? If I'm controlling everything and I keep pretending that I don't have power enough because I can't control everyone into doing what I want them to do. But even if I think I could, I must really know that I have some power somewhere that's friggin' amazing. Oh my goodness. See, we're changing this. We're turning the entire perspective by taking the judgment element out of it. Okay. So our ask can be of the universe by getting the sense of what we desire as fully as we possibly can, get the sense of living it. And you go, hey, universe, hey, consciousness, please help. I'm acknowledging to myself and consciousness, universe, God, spirit, all of the above, that I'm asking for this. So now you're like, okay, I'm asking, woo, little X terrifying. Okay, my molecules are vibrating. Whoa, that's cool. Now the demand comes in where you demand of you, I will be and do, because I get the sense that this is something that is actually greater for my life. I will be and do anything I need to within my integrity, of course. I'll be and do anything I need to have this show up. But also, I'm willing to change anything. I'm willing to gain anything. And here's the part people don't want to go to because they assume it's going to be bad and wrong, but I'm willing to lose anything and I'm willing to lose anyone. Now, here's the part about the losing is we always assume that if somebody leaves our life, it's going to be worse. We always assume that if something leaves our life, it's going to be worse. But if we look back over our life, how many times has something left and it opened up the space for something far greater? And so this is one of the elements that if we can just look from that place a bit and have that perspective, but also have the perspective that if we make a choice for more consciousness and we acknowledge that and we go, hey, you know what? I realize, because one of the things we realized with access consciousness, the one thing that will change all the stuff going on in the world that doesn't work, all the division, all the polarity, all the polarized separation is consciousness, where everything and everyone exists and no one and nothing is judged. And if we had a world like that, war could not exist. Poverty would not exist unless people were committed to choose it to prove that they're somehow morally superior to others. Okay, fine. But if they wanted to choose that, we'd recognize, wow, okay, there's choices if you want them, no problem. Separation wouldn't exist. Politics wouldn't exist the way it does. We would actually have statesmen instead of politicians, for example.
Yes.
And so we have the choice to live that in our lives right now, though. And is it easy? Not necessarily. Is it a lot more fun? Hell yeah. Does it create a lot more? Way more than we could imagine. But if we recognize then that, so our ask and our demand of ourselves to be willing within integrity with ourselves, okay? Because we always think, oh, well, I'm going to have to do terrible, evil stuff. No, 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 no. That's not the way this works. Consciousness would never have you do that. No, it's the opposite. It's where you get to actually like you and the choices you've made. And so with that ask and that demand, the ask of the universe and everything that will contribute, the demand of ourselves that we're willing to go on the journey and do the work, and also have it show up with as much ease, joy, and glory as possible. Ooh, that's another tool. All of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. 10 times in the morning, 10 times in the evening. All of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. And glory is exuberant expression and abundance. All of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. It's like, oh, yes, please. So 10 times in the morning, 10 times in the evening. And what starts to show up is even these huge changes that we've been dreading. The universe goes, it's not bad. I got your back. I'm here for you. This is just going to get greater. Will there be bumps along the way? Yeah. But what I've noticed is when people start looking from this place, when people use access consciousness tools, because it's not about the tool. It's about having the tool so you can be you when you're not being you. It's not about the tool. It's not about access consciousness. It's about you having a tool so that you can be you. You know, like if you're building a house, the house is not about the hammer, you know, it's about the house you can build. You know what I mean? So, but what happens is people, the trajectory of their lives goes up and up and up. And rather than, whereas before it would kind of, most people's lives tend to go like this with maybe a little bit of up. And then the down is like off the charts. What this is it goes up and up and up. And when there's a down, rather than being down here, it's like down here. And it's always to show you where there's a point of view that you have that if you changed it would allow you to have what you desire, because your point of view creates your reality. And then it goes up and up and up and up and up. And you'll ask people, what change have you gotten from access consciousness? You've been doing this for a year. You've been going to some of the classes, using the tools, and they'll look at you with like dogs watching television because they're like, so many things I can't even begin to tell you. I approach life differently. I don't approach it as a victim anymore. I approach it as a creator. Do I have lots more things I'd like? Hell yeah. But I have so much more ease and comfort in my skin. So the next element, we ask, we demand of us, and then we recognize that anything heavy that comes up related to this is where we bought some point of view or where we structured or created some point of view that's no longer congruent with this. And we can see that it's heavier. It feels contracted now because we're asking for this and we're starting to go there. And the universe and consciousness is like, hey, there's this roadblock. There's this wall that you erected a long time ago. And so what are we going to do to change this? And you go, what is it? What do I do with it? Can I change it? If so, how do I change it? And one of the other things is, who does this belong to? Because we realize that roughly 98% of all of this stuff that goes through our heads actually doesn't even belong to us. We're like big psychic radio receivers. And if you realize that, you realize from the time we were little kids, we learned to structure a reality like mom and dad and everybody around us because we didn't have any structure, and everybody else seemed to be so intent on creating the rightness of their structure that we went, oh, I guess I'll do that too. Okay. Can you still feed me and change my diaper, please? I will be in here internally structuring everything. That way, by the time I am an adult like you, I can be as structured as you are. I am a good child. I know you love me now. Thank you very much. You know, so part of it is undoing that also, where we bought these things that aren't us, from the awareness of, if it's heavy, it's not actually us. Now, people are probably spacing the F out right now, I would imagine. Like, are you still talking?
Well, I what I think is that, we know that we only basically have around an hour, whatever that ends up being, but it's trying to touch on things to really allow people to get a sense of who you are and what you do. I think they have a little bit of a sense and how powerful it is, and the many tools that you have that are online and in person, different things to really facilitate for themselves in an easy, what I think an easy manner, like just some of the questions, the clearing statement, to create change in their life, to begin to create change in their life, and to see some of the changes almost, I would say, immediately. And one of the things I want to bring up is you have this statement, the truth makes you feel lighter, a lie makes you feel heavier. And when I first heard that, I think it might have been in a video or something, but it's in the book as well. And I thought, oh, that's cute. Yeah, that's nice. I'm like, oh, yeah, I get that. Sure. And then I realized, wow, that's really powerful when we're listening to someone talk to us. It's like, before I take that in, is it true? Before I take that in, is it about something that that I think is true, or is it a lie? Do I feel lighter? Do I feel heavier? It's when we're thinking about an illness or an ailment that we have, we pulled our back out or did something. What's true about that? Am I lighter when I hear the voice inside my head? Am I heavier? Does it make me feel a little freer, a little more expanded, or am I contracting around this idea or this concept? Like, it's not just cute, it's really powerful. And you've said a few times in our talk is that some of the most powerful things are actually very simple. They're actually very simple because we are so close to the truth. We can't be any closer. It's living us, it's breathing us, it's moving us. And if we just let a few things go, fall away, then that truth wells up and we feel lighter and lighter and lighter. Or as something is coming at us, it's the truth. Or we just say, no, thanks. I decline that judgment, or I decline that concept, or I don't really feel the need to participate in that at this moment. Because I can feel there's a heaviness to it, or it's triggering something heavy in me that I'm remembering. Oh, I can let that go now. I can let that go and use a clearing statement or something. So that to me is the idea. There's an ease about it. And yet being around like minds and community, which you provide, a beautiful community and access consciousness. And so maybe you can tell us a little bit about this International Being You Day.
Oh, yeah. And it's I'm so excited. This is my excited face. It's June 22nd. And this is, I believe, our fourth. And in actuality, we started on June 1st with one YouTube live each day where we explore the judgment-free zone. And we have different people each day, starting from June 1st, going through to the day on the 22nd, of these beautiful people who have their own beautiful perspective on what it means to live beyond judgment and how to get to certain things that you may not have known how to get to, like how to deal with judgment, how to create your business from awareness, like how to have difference with your family, how to embrace you. So we have those each day, one each day, from the 1st to the 21st of June. And then on the 22nd, I'll be gifting a free class to everybody. You have to sign up and get a ticket,
I
and the
did.
ticket is free. Awesome. Cool. Ooh, ooh. And it'll be, let's say about 90 minutes, couple hours. But what I'm going to do is I get to, especially with the lead up of the previous 21 days and the conversations people are now willing to have, create as much of a space in people's worlds as possible where they really get that it's a gift to celebrate them, a gift to find out what's true for you, and really a gift to finally get out of the fundamental judgments of us that have been plaguing us. Your world is not greater if you walk around judging you. Our world is lessened because our world is created by all of us. And so this idea is about a celebration of the uniqueness of you and the weirdness you are. And the original meaning of weird was of spirit, fate, and destiny. So embrace your weirdness. Shakespeare talked about the weirding women of spirit, fate, and destiny was the original meaning of weird. And
Wow.
so you have a world of these amazing people who desire to be set free to actually be them and know it's not wrong. And here's the thing that I need to add to this is a lot of people that I've met that are the seekers of the world have this point of view that if they didn't always have a voice of judgment, they would do terrible things.
Mm.
And what's interesting is what I've realized is as that judgment voice gets less and less and less, they see themselves doing far more wonderful things. And the idea that they would do terrible things vanishes from their world. And so this idea that we need to maintain judgment so we're not bad and wrong is one of the biggest lies we've ever bought. And I would love, because the more of us that are there contributing, the more of us that have an impact on changing it for all of us. So you're warmly invited. International Being You, June 22nd.
Online.
Online, yes.
And yes, I have my ticket. I'm going.
Yay.
And yeah, very excited. And I've watched a few of the videos, and it really is inspirational to watch people who are embracing the access consciousness tools to live in their authentic expression. And it is the ultimate freedom. Like being you is the ultimate freedom. We think freedom is money, or we think freedom is prestige, or having that particular car. And it's none of that. It's actually the freedom to be me, and that I don't have to take on other people's judgments of what that should look like, but especially I don't have to hold on to any previous judgments that I have agreed to um, in my past, in my life. There's freedom and power, that self empowerment and self love, and it really does change the world, because as we see ourselves in non-judgment, it's like, what a relief that we can see everyone else like that. We don't have to judge anyone. We don't have to judge that political party or that political party. Might be
Or
hard, but
both.
we don't. We can be that
Yeah.
space of just open, loving. And in that space, we went right back to the beginning. In that space, is infinite possibilities. What door can open from
Yeah.
that space? Let's find out. Let's
Pat,
find out together at International Being Day. What door is going to open as we release our judgment about ourselves and others?
brilliantly put. Thank you.
Yeah, I read a good
That.
book. Well, I'm grateful to meet you. We're gonna have to definitely talk again because we touched like a little moment on each thing, but I
Yes.
know I just want to invite the listeners, the viewers to read this book because you touch on so many things and you've touched on just for a sentence or two, relationships, being you in relationship, being you in business, being you in life. And
Mm.
it's just so expansive. The book was expansive. I'm going to I really wanted to ask about access bars, so we'll just talk again
I would love to talk again anytime.
anytime tomorrow.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Dain Heer, for being here with me now. I appreciate it
Thank you.
so much. And I just invite our viewers, if you like this, please hit the like button. Please subscribe. You'll know when the next incredible interview with Dr. Dain Heer comes out. And share it with a friend. They might be ready for International Being You Day. They're ready. Trust me. They want to be in that no judgment zone. And again, just I hope you spend this week laughing, loving, and being you. Thank you. You can reach Dr. Dain Heer at his website, drdainheer.com, or on his YouTube channel at Dr. Dain Heer, and visit accessconsciousness.com to find out more about the International Being You Day coming up on June 22nd.